So the mindset of an entrepreneur here, we're talking about balancing your light and your dark. And that's kind of going with what Miller said, right? You have your strengths, right? Which is going to be your light, where you're operating in your light, but you also have to acknowledge your dark, acknowledge where you don't excel, where you're not amazing at what you need to do. And then find people or resources to accommodate for that, right? To complement that yourself and complement your skills. And so whether that's people as an employee, people as a partner, that's fine. But on a more entrepreneurial ideal kind of way, you want to get vendors for those kind of things, right? I'm not a fan of looking at my numbers all the time. So I hire an accounting firm to do that, right? And I find one that I trust, that I know that's not going to charge ridiculous amounts of money, because it does matter, right? I'm not saying you spend all the money you possibly can on everything. It's not about that. It's about being responsible with these things. But I also know that my time is infinitely more valuable than any amount of money I could make, because time's not coming back. I can always make more money. I can't make more time, right? Develop your self-awareness, and that goes along with these other things as well. Focus on developing your self-awareness. Ask yourself the tough questions, or get someone who can ask you the tough questions for you so you don't have to do it yourself. Because a lot of times we shy away from those kind of things. Those kind of discussions scare us, right? And accept feedback. Everything is feedback. Everything. Any conversation you have with someone, the way you feel is feedback. The way they're talking to you is feedback. Everything is feedback. Nothing is good or bad unless you make it that way, right? The market forces, the competition you're facing, the people you talk to, everything is all feedback. You take and leave what you want, but there's nothing that's inherently bad or good in terms of what happens in the market, what happens with your business. Look at COVID for the last year or so, right? It's been a crazy time for the market, a crazy time for everybody. But some people have thrived. How have they done that? Because they pivoted, because they looked at the market, they saw the feedback, they saw an opportunity, and they took advantage of it. They did what they could, right? These companies like Amazon and Google and Uber, right? I mean, they saw and created opportunities over the past, however many years. Amazon started as nothing but a book reseller, I should say. They didn't even sell their own books. At one point in time, think about this. Amazon was a garage where they just sold repurposed books. That's all they sold was books, right? And now look at them. They didn't do that just by luck. They didn't do that by it wasn't like someone just handed it to them. It grew over time because they looked at the market and they took feedback, and they kept building on that, and they built into their algorithms, into every single piece of that site is collecting data. That's why Google is so powerful, because they collect so much data. And that's a big debate nowadays, but data is key. That's all feedback. How are my users using this stuff? Okay, cool. Let me start looking at how they're using that. Now I know that. What can I create that's going to give them more reason to use it, or going to leverage why they're using this or how often they're using it? That's what you need to start looking at, right? Own your limitations and then overcome them. And overcoming doesn't mean you spend all your time working on your weaknesses and not your strengths. Again, back to Miller's point, you look at your strengths, focus on those. Weaknesses, if you want to work on them, you can, but you can also account for them by hiring people and figuring out what makes sense. And again, not necessarily as an employee, but just looking for services that can complement what you need to do, right? Will it be tough sometimes? Absolutely. But overall, you're still going to be able to get things done more effectively as long as you're aware of what your limitations are. And last thing is chart your own path. And that means, like I said before, it's going to be writing your own recipe for success, right? The path of an entrepreneur is not a beaten path. It's not a path where people have walked it enough that it's like a set in stone type of thing. Every entrepreneur's path is a little bit different, right? So you got to be able to be willing to deal with the uncertainty and the ambiguity and the insecurity that comes along with that. If you can't, then probably not going to be for you.